Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here tonight to talk about a recent trip that I went on. It was kind of a last minute trip because I had to attend a funeral, and so I wanted to go over what happened, I guess, and kind of just, yeah. It's kind of like an experiment video, too, because, as you guys know, I've been having these throat issues. And it's really funny because the first the first day that I left, I wanted to see, am I going to have these problems somewhere else? Because my big theory has been, I've had so many health issues ever since moving to this apartment. I never used to have allergy problems. I never used to have this many health problems. But ever since I have lived here, I've had tons of shit over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And as you guys also know, I think it was like July. I went on a vacation to Pennsylvania, and I felt so much better there. I felt completely better. I didn't have a single health problem there. Basically, I had a little bit of allergy problems, but I was so much better there. And so I was really curious to see if I would be better in Illinois and Chicago. And surprise, surprise, I felt a million times better. That wasn't to say that I was completely better, because the first night especially, for some reason, I wasn't feeling well. But overall, my health improved dramatically from being in Chicago. I mean, I wasn't getting any exercise here. I was just because I'm sick with something. So I was I was just hunkered down in this, little tiny room. And I was really curious to see, if going somewhere else would once again make me feel better. And you guys can hear, too, that I have some kind of problem now. And it's already, it's already like it was. That's what I'll say. So first off, on the way there, one of the things that I kind of hate about road trips now is that I used to think that when you go on a road trip, you can get a lot of work done if you're not the one driving. I would think okay, if I'm not the one driving, then I can edit, I can write, I can talk to people about filmmaking and shit and, stuff that we need to do. But as soon as you get in the car, and I have a cat too, so this cat is sitting in the back with me. What he likes to do is he either likes to sit on the floor, or he'll sit on my feet, or he'll sit up next to me. It's so cramped. There's fur everywhere. Fur gets in your food, the stuff that you drink. And the last thing that you want to do is work. That's what's funny. It is just not a good work environment. And in order for me to actually do good work, I need to be in a good environment. That's another thing that I've learned over the years, because when I do my filmmaking work, I get into a really meditative state. I get really, really focused. Everything has to be quiet. Or if it's noisy, it has to be it can't be chaotic, and it can't be like the experience that you have going on a road trip. So for the whole drive there, I was just what do I do? And so I ended up buying a an analysis video on The Shining. It was like an hour and 40 minutes, and I just watched that because I was like, I can't do anything. It's just that you cannot focus when you're on a road trip. I mean, there's just so many reasons why. Probably the biggest reason this time was because of people passing gas in the car. And that was a big issue both ways. That just made the road trip that much more horrible. But I love road trips though. Like, road trips are definitely like one of my favorite things to do. It's just that it's not a good time to work. It's not a good time to be like, oh hey, it would be really fun if I could write a script now. You know what I mean? And then on the way there, I did go to Wendy's, and I got a cheesy baked potato and a caramel frosty. Now, I'd like to say this about the caramel frosty. I thought it was okay. I've been really liking that Wendy's has been trying these different frosty flavors. I thought that the peppermint one was bad because it really wasn't very pepperminty. It was just kind of bland. I thought that the strawberry one was okay, but it wouldn't be something I'd get again. So this one, though, I felt like was the best one out of those three that I've had. It felt like this is more so what I would expect. It was very caramelly. It was a little salty, and I would say it's good, but it's not as good still as chocolate or vanilla, which I don't think that they'll be able to, unless I really think they need to do a mint chocolate chip one or something, like mint and chocolate combined. I think that would be what Wendy's could do really, really well. But then again, they did a terrible peppermint flavor, I think in 2022, might have been. Ew. Just ew. So then we got to the hotel. We stayed at a Marriott hotel. It was probably a big mistake that we stayed there because it was not really a hotel for families. And this has been a consistent problem with just getting a place to live or getting a hotel room, is that there's so many places nowadays and they're not designed for families. They're designed for couples, young couples, or a young business person. They're not designed for families anymore. There's not a focus anymore on this is a great place for a family. And one of the reasons why is because you walk inside this Marriott hotel, and immediately they have this big quote-unquote restaurant space, but it was like a bar. I mean, you have this bar where you order food from and drinks, and it's very inviting. I really like the place. I mean, it's nice, but it's not a place for a family. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's a good idea to take a child to a hotel where there's a bar and that's where you get your food and you eat your food in front of a bar. I don't think that that's a good influence. And as well, there was no free breakfast there. So they had all these overpriced menu items. They had these overpriced limited breakfast items that weren't very good, or they were just okay. And that's all you could get. It was really, really limited and not very creative and not very fun. I mean, that's another thing too, is you can really measure the worth of a hotel by how bad or good their breakfasts are. You know what I mean? Because when I go to a hotel, I expect a couple of things. There's like a checklist. I expect a breakfast. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to be good. Sausage, eggs, bacon, hash browns, toast, pancakes, waffles, cereal, oatmeal, biscuits and gravy, maybe. Boom. That's all you need. Juices, water. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. That's fine. But nowadays, you got a hotel like this one, and what do they have? They just have just a couple of things. Oh, you want to get French toast? That's what I got. I got French toast the first day. Had to pay $13 for a little order of French toast. And the next day after that, Safi and I ordered DoorDash, Dunkin' Donuts, right across the street. We got 4 donuts, a wrap, and we tipped the driver $5, and it cost $14. It cost $1 more than what we paid for one single menu item at this hotel. That's pretty bad, guys. I mean, that is just terrible. That's called a presidential debacle, because the president should not be allowing things like this. You know what I mean? Like any president, like that would be one of my issues as a president. I would say, I will not make families pay $13 for an order of French toast. And that was the only sweet thing on the menu, too. There was no, like, pancake or waffle. That was the only thing. So you think about, what would a child want for breakfast? A sweet thing. Pancakes or waffles or cereal. And they don't have that. They had this cereal that was weird too. They had all these cereals in the back at this bar, like these little single serve cereal packs. And it's like, that's not even on the menu. What do you just ask? Like, okay, hey, there's a cereal back there. Can I have one of those cereals? How much does that cost? Like, it's really, really weird. And I'll get more into this experience of being at this bar in this restaurant area. But the first night, I was not happy with the room. The room was essentially as big as my bedroom, but like a little bit bigger, and all 3 of us stayed in this room. It was like, no, this is not acceptable. And it was terrible. Like, because like, even if it was just me and a sexy young woman from Russia or something, I don't know. But like, even if it was just me and some hot babe staying at this hotel, getting into trouble together, you could hardly fit the cart thingy that you have all your luggage on. You could hardly fit that through the door. The hallways were cramped. It was like you're going through the shopping aisles at a Dollar General or something. It was really, really weird. It was just such a weird experience, because the whole feeling that I got was like, this is not meant for families. This is not meant for people going on vacation. This is meant for like weird things. This is meant for that guy going on a trip by himself to go to an anime convention. This is meant for some strong, independent woman going on a business trip. This is just not meant for like normal things. Like normal people type of things. And I'm sorry to say that those things aren't normal people things. It's just, you know what I mean. Like, when you think of a hotel, you associate that with the nuclear family. You don't associate a hotel with like a single businesswoman going on a business trip. So, yeah. The first night, though, we had Vicino's Pizza Company. And I thought, I got spaghetti. I always, no, for some reason, whenever I go on a trip and we get pizza from a pizza place, I always tend to get spaghetti instead of pizza. And I think that for some reason, it's like I don't want to eat the pizza and be disappointed, because pizza is such a disappointing experience, because like there are so many bad pizza places, and it's also hard to decide on which topping you want. Whereas if you get a spaghetti, you don't have to really decide about any like toppings. So the spaghetti that I got, I felt like this is probably some of the best spaghetti that I've ever had. It had so much seasoning. It had so much flavor. The only complaint I would say is the noodles were a little thick. They were some thick noodles. I also liked that they had a lot of chunks of Italian sausage all over the place. So I actually ate the entire thing. I wasn't planning on eating the whole thing, but I loved it so much that I couldn't stop myself. And then I got tiramisu, and oh my god, A+ tiramisu. So this was an A+ meal from Vicino's Pizza Company in Illinois. I hated the hotel room, though. There was no privacy, and that's another thing, is that I love privacy. As much as I like being around certain people, I love privacy as well. And there really was none in this hotel room. You could hardly walk by. Like, there's this computer chair and this desk, and it's positioned in such a way where if you pull out the desk, there is literally no room to sit there at the bed. Or if you sit there at the bed in this computer chair, there is literally no room to walk by to get anywhere. So it's like you're trapped. And the only other seat is this crappy little, I don't know what you call it, like a personal chair with a footrest. So I hated this hotel room. I hated it so much that just being there was a struggle. Like, I was actually glad that I was going to be, like, in another place the next day. Like, so that I could not have to be in that hotel room. Because it was so uncomfortable. And it was such a lousy experience. And it was... because usually when we go on these trips and we get a hotel room, there's like two parts to the room, and it's just so much better that way, and it's so much more comfortable, and it feels more like a hotel. And this did not feel like that. And then they have this big courtyard thing in the middle of the hotel, so like you can go out back and there's like a courtyard. There's nothing to do there, though. Like, there's no food there, and there's really not very many chairs. So I don't really know what the point of that courtyard is. I mean, especially since it's the winter time, you basically can't do anything there. So I really think that the courtyard is like an epic fail. And that's like the whole title of the hotel too, is Marriott in the by the courtyard. But then the courtyard is just an epic fail. So, yeah, this has turned into like Marco's Gordon Ramsay hotel review show, basically. And then in terms of sleep, I hardly got any sleep because I was like, this is not like my type of experience. I don't like sleeping in the same room as other people unless it's a woman that I'm with. Like, if it's with two other people, especially, like, I don't like sleeping in the same room as other people, so really did not appreciate that at all. It was like a miserable experience. I would keep on waking up and then falling back asleep and then waking up and falling back asleep. It was basically like torture. It was like a torture experience. And then the next day I had to get up super early. I had to get breakfast so that I could eat my medicine, because I have to take all this medicine in the morning. And a lot of good that does. You know what I think too? It either has to be allergies or anxiety, because again, I really did not have any problems on this trip in that department. Like, I hardly had any issues. And I just think, and it's funny too, because in the summer, I got some other like random symptoms from allergies. And I started to not be able to walk outside because I would get dizzy and shit. And then now with this, I feel like this might just be another thing, like another random like allergy symptom. And I don't know what the allergy is, so. In the morning, though, this woman who was working at the bar, she was taking a long time. And this is another thing, too. You don't want a bartender to be serving food, because bartenders like to talk to people, because that's what they do, so that they can, butter them up and get more drinks, just make it a more enjoyable experience too. And so she was like going around talking to people and like just taking like a million years. And like we had to wait like 20 minutes before we could even order our food. And then we ordered it, and she wasn't really very nice either. I didn't really think anything of her. But she ended up getting our food pretty quickly, and she didn't make us wait too long. And the French toast was actually okay. I think that it could have been a little bit sweeter, and I think they could have given us a little bit more maple syrup, because they did not have any maple syrup packs outside. Like, how like at normal hotels they have like peanut butter, jelly, jam, butter, coffee creamers. Well, they did not have any maple syrup. They'll only give you the one cup with the French toast. They'll probably charge you like $13 more if you want another maple syrup pack. So, anyways, and I'll just, because the next part would be the funeral. And I'll just say this. It was a fine funeral. I've only ever been to one other funeral, I think. Or no, I was at another one too. One of them I went to, and I can't even remember it, so that means it was probably really boring and dull. And then the next one, I can distinctly remember how boring it was. I think it all depends on the location and the person leading it, because the person who led the other funeral, it was this guy at this funeral home, and he was just so boring. It was like a miserable, nightmarish experience. Like, it's memorable for me for how bad it was. And this experience, I would say, was like the opposite, because it was at a church, and so the guy doing it was, of course, the head priest there, and he was really, really good. He was great at speaking, and he was great at, basically like all that stuff, when you go in a church, it's like a theatrical show. And so I thought actually they did a really good job. And so, yeah, I thought that was a pretty good experience. it was kind of like a thing too of like I was wondering like how it would be because we don't really go to church around here because I don't like to go to cults. I don't like to associate with cults. So, I don't really associate myself with those types of things. I like to worship on my own terms and on my own choice. I don't like oh, you got to go to this specific place every Sunday and you have to dress up a certain way and you have to give them money every single week. And, just, I don't like that. I don't like that type of thing. And so, but I thought that the funeral was really good. And then we went to a restaurant, and it's called Hackney's. And I've only ever been to this place once before. It's sort of like a family favorite restaurant. And the only other time I went there, I had a horrible experience. Or no, I've been there but I've been there 2 other times. But both times I had a terrible experience, funnily enough. And guys, you can already tell I am already getting sick again being at this shitty-ass apartment that I despise. So, I mean, you can hear it, can't you? I mean, I was never like this on the trip. Never. Never, ever, ever, ever. It's really, really weird, isn't it? So, the other time I went to Hackney's, I got food to go. And I got a bison burger, sweet potato fries, and then I think another side. Well, the bison burger was raw in the middle. And the sweet potato fries were disgusting. So I was really nervous. In fact, I was thinking at this place, maybe I should just order like a light meal. And then later on, I'll get like the burger at the bar at the hotel, Because I thought, even though the hotel's food, it's overpriced and it's not really anything of note, I suspected maybe they could have a really good burger or something, A burger and fries, how hard could that be? And when we got to this restaurant, too, it was really funny because we had this seating arrangement planned for weeks. Or a week or something. Yeah, just a week. But, like, we had this arrangement planned. And, the person planning it spent, like, hours and hours thinking about the seating chart. And when we got there, people were just sitting wherever they wanted to. And so it was really funny when that happened because, like, there was, like, this game that we played at this post-funeral luncheon with family and friends. And it was like a game of musical chairs. So first off, I started off sitting at the more mature side of the table, like the older part of the table with the quote-unquote cool people, including, well, I won't say anything more personal than that, just for privacy reasons. But first, I started sitting there. And then I got moved further on down. And then I went back. And then I went all the way back down. And then I had to get up and grab a chair to represent the deceased and put it next to me at the end of the table, which doesn't make any sense because if he was there at the luncheon, he would probably be at the other end of the table with his closest family members. I won't say anything more, but and so that was pretty bizarre. And then later on, another person came and they inserted themselves around us, and there was all this debacle of like moving chairs and sitting there and sitting here and sitting here and sitting there. It was really, really a mess. And it was it was somehow a bigger mess than the dinner with the celebrity thing at the convention. It was just a big mess, playing this game of musical chairs. And then at the end, I had to move back to the place where I was supposed to sit in the first place. So, yeah. What can you do? And, oh yeah, and at the beginning of the dinner, someone was standing behind me. And they had their hand on my chair while I was sitting there trying to relax, even though there's somebody standing over me, making it really uncomfortable and irritating. And so what I did was I sat purposefully so that my back was crushing their hand, so that they would have to pull their hand free like it was like a Chinese finger trap. So this is the type of shit that I do when I get upset, you don't fuck with me when I'm at Hackney's. So what I ended up getting was I got an onion burger and fries. Hackney's is famous for two things. They're famous for burgers. I guess I've never heard of them before without my family telling me about them. And they're also famous for these fried onion rings that are really, really overcooked and crispy to the point of where... And they're very thin and skinny, too. So I decided to get, like, something that would play to their advantage. Get an onion burger where you have two of their best things, supposedly, together. And actually, it was really good. They have really good food. There were a couple of problems with the serving department. I mean, there were a lot of people, but there were a couple of issues with, like, people not getting certain things that they ordered, or getting things that they didn't order instead of like a substitution type of thing. And so, yeah. Anyways, after that luncheon was over, we went back to the hotel. And at this point, my parents wanted to spend more time with my older brother and his daughter, because we never get to see them because they live in California. So we decided, it was a very last minute decision. Probably this part should have been more planned out. We decided to go to this restaurant/bar nearby. I don't know what the focus is with like bars and alcohol, but we went to this place called North Branch. And it was really funny because there was an Office episode on that totally predicted what would happen at this restaurant and then the following morning at another restaurant. So when we were at North Branch, and again, we had just spent hours sitting in this back room at Hackney's, only to go to this other place and sit there for a couple more hours. But it was such a... And this is something I noticed about Hackney's too. That they were such comforting, cozy environments. Like around where I live, they don't really have restaurants like this. They have these gross corporate restaurants, like Chili's, TGI Fridays, but they don't really have inviting restaurants like these two places were. Because you go to these places, you really, really want to sit there and eat and have fun and just be there for hours and enjoy the atmosphere. And another thing that's fun, like as a writer, is just seeing all the different people. I love going to different places and just looking at people and seeing different types of people. And I felt like I was really glad to have gone on this trip too, because even though I've been pretty ill, I was like, wow, I'm feeling so much better here, at least, and I'm also having a great time, because right off the bat, there was something really odd that happened at this restaurant. And it was the type of thing that was so odd that it has to be on purpose. Like, it cannot just be a coincidence. Because that's the thing with a lot of these people who don't believe in the supernatural, or they don't believe in anything other than, like, there's people and there's God and that's it. It's like they always have to play these mental gymnastics over, oh, well, that's probably a coincidence, and oh, that probably just happened to happen, and oh, that probably just happened because, stuff happens, it's like, but nothing ever happens because there could be something otherworldly involved. You know what I mean? Like, it's always like, oh, well, stuff happens, don't look too much into it because I just want to, bury my head in the sand and not believe in anything. And so I really should say that because these things that happened were so odd and so weird that it has to be told, or it has to be seen to be believed. First off, I know a filmmaker, and I've spoken about her before. I know a filmmaker in Italy named Sabrina. She's a little bit of a feminist, she's a little bit of a kooky feminist, but, all women are kooky feminists nowadays, unfortunately. It's just a part of the culture, They've been brainwashed to be that way, so, it'll take a long while before that craziness reverses. So, but it was really weird because there was this woman who was sitting in, like, they have, like, this entryway. She was sitting there with he was probably, like, a 2-year-old, or maybe, like, a 1-year-old or something. She was sitting there with him, and it was like she was waiting there to greet me, or to greet someone, but then she got up, and by the way, like, her and her child had some kind of a weird fascination with me, but then while we're sitting there in this restaurant area, I can see them. There's this, like, windowy area. They have this, like, window, like, separation between the restaurant and then the entry. She comes in with her child and walks around the restaurant and disappears. And then she comes back and she goes back to the entryway. And she disappears. And then she comes back in, and she goes to the bathroom. And then she disappears. And then she comes back into the restaurant. And then she goes back to the entryway. And then she disappears. And every single time that she does, she's giving me a look. She's looking at me. And she looked exactly like Sabrina. So that was weird. Okay, and so what ended up happening, then this is the part that cements how weird this was. Now, keep in mind, I'm bored as hell. This is an awkward, uncomfortable situation because we really should have been doing something fun, some kind of a fun activity where we could all, like, have fun or something, but instead we're just sitting around at a restaurant and I wasn't drinking. I was having water, and only 2 people out of 4 or 5 of us were drinking. So, but then a group of people comes in, and in that group of people, and you guys aren't going to believe this. You're probably, some of you are just going to say Marco had a couple to drink, and he's not telling us. And to that, I would say, fuck you, because you're a liar. This group came in, and in that group, there was one woman, and guess who that one woman looked like? I'll give you a hint. She was in my past life. This woman looked exactly like Sharon Tate. Exactly like her. She was even as tall as her as well. And I was really, really weirded out. And this woman also kept on looking at me. I don't know why. And this is another thing, too. As soon as I leave Beaver Creek, Ohio, I instantly become a chick magnet. Because... and I'm not... And the waitresses and shit were looking at me as well. Over and over and over again. They might have just been thinking, like, who's that weird guy in the corner? But, who knows? I'm just being silly. But, it was so weird, though, that I would see those 2 people who look like people that I know. And I was debating whether or not to go up to the Sharon lookalike, because I was really, really weirded out. Because nobody looks like Sharon. Sharon was one of a kind. Because I've only ever seen her in my dreams and my visions probably like 4 or 5 times within the span of years. So to see someone who looks like her in public, that's like an even bigger WTF thing, because it's like, that person's a physical, she's really there. She's a physical manifestation who's really there. And I am so upset I didn't go up to her and say something, because I could have gotten a picture with her and said, it was really nice seeing someone who looks like you, or someone who looks like her. But that was really weird. And now this is the weirdest part. This group of people goes to this back room, and then the woman with the baby, the child, probably a single mother, probably should have gotten her number, because then it would have given me an excuse to move to a better place, like the certain place I was at. She comes back in, and she goes to that back room, and she sits down next to Sharon, next to the Sharon look-alike. Now that, my friends, is bizarre. So that was probably why she was walking around. But then the weird part is that after that, she was still getting up and walking around with her child over and over again, and continuously looking at me as if it was like, I don't know. So yeah, that moment though cemented that I was like, okay, I'm glad that I came here. Because otherwise I would have been sick in this horrible apartment and not enjoying myself at all. So, but another thing that was weird was the Office episode that was on that night was Valentine's Day. or The Blood Drive. And it's the one where Michael meets this woman, and then she forgot her glove, and then he tries to plan this party so that she'll come and he can talk to her again, and she doesn't end up coming. And I was kicking myself because for the rest of the evening, I kept on saying, like, okay, should I go back? Should I go back? Because, like, I was really, really tempted to go back. Because I felt like that was definitely meant to happen. And I think it has to do with writing, and I think it has to do with the other world really, really wants me to, and as I'm saying this, it's 9:45, it's 9:09. The other world really wants me to write the script about the murders, and because I've been getting so many signs about that for the past 2 months. It has been insane. So now this is it. By now it's around dinner time. I was feeling really full because the lunch was like, it was really filling, and I wanted to go have a drink in memory of my deceased uncle. And because, like, I haven't really had a drink for a while, for like a year or more, because of my anxiety. So I decided to get an appletini. And the bartender at night was actually really nice. He was also, though, he would go around talking to people for a long time. And I got an appletini, though. And I've got to say, like, this is probably the best drink that I've ever had. Because I love things that are sweet and taste like apple. And I think it's a perfect experience. It's so much better than drinking like a gross, glass of whiskey or something like that, where it burns your throat and everything. So I started getting really, I tested my limits, guys. I drank the entire thing, like, just fully prepared that, like, maybe something bad could happen, because that's like, when you have anxiety, that's pretty much like your big issue with doing anything. Is like, oh, maybe something bad will happen. And and that's how it sounds like in your head too, how I just did it. Maybe something bad will happen. But I went for it, and I drank the whole thing. And then I got a tequila sunrise, and I drank that whole thing too. And by the way, in the background, now this is where it gets weird. Not weird in terms of my past life or anything, but just weird in terms of this hotel. First off, there was this guy, this receptionist, and he had this friend, I guess, or maybe he was like a boyfriend or something, and he was sitting at this table alone with this bowl of food. And then the receptionist came over, and he sat down with him, and he put a lot of seasoning in the food, and they were like sharing and eating out of the same bowl. And I thought that was weird, how they were like just openly doing that in this hotel restaurant area. I've never seen that before, like a hotel worker, like, mixing and mingling with people like that, Usually it's more like formal. And then there was this other hooded guy, and he just had a single beer. And then there was this other guy who had a single beer, and he came up to him and he handed him something, and then he walked away. And I'm not kidding when I say that this other guy, he literally just sat in this restaurant for hours, hardly ever taking a drink. Who knows what he was doing? And who knows what that thing was that the guy handed him? So that was another odd thing that happened. The guy was nice though, but like you could tell he was like a drug dealer or something. You know, I mean, he looked and acted like a drug dealer. I mean, he wasn't like casual or anything. He was openly like, I'm here to do some kind of a weird deal thing, and I'm just going to sit in this hotel restaurant and just be like, yeah, I'm hanging out or something. And by the way, the restaurant at this hotel, I mean, the restroom, it was really, really cool. It kind of reminded me of The Shining. And it was all bright orange and everything. And so I actually took a picture of it because I had to go to the restroom several times. And then also I had scotch. And so I got drunk. I got pretty damn drunk last night at this hotel bar. And and I don't know why, just for fun, because I was testing my limits. And just like I'm doing with this video, you know, because I think it's pretty, like, irritating that I can't really talk or that I haven't been able to talk. And so I'm pretty sick of it, sick and tired of it, because that's what I like to do. And that's why I have a YouTube channel as well. So, but anyways, this bartender, though, he would disappear and he would just not be around for like 10 to 15 minutes at a time. That was another weird thing, because like I was thinking, like, if there were a lot of people here, like, he could not do something like that, because you know, we were there for like hours at this hotel restaurant bar. So then what I decided to do, I got some takeout Chinese food, and I also got Molly's cupcakes. I ordered buy one, get one free of a chocolate peanut butter cupcake, and I got a random cupcake where they could choose the flavor, and they chose pecan pie for me, which was ironic because I was like, that's the one flavor that I don't want, you know? Like, I was like, because I just couldn't decide, you know, they had red velvet, they had cookie, like, you know, like cookie dough, they had cookies and cream, they had chocolate, they had raspberry, and I literally liked every single other flavor except for pecan pie, you know, like in terms of like what I would have wanted. So that was hilarious, but it was delicious. And you know something else is that drinking the appletini while also eating the pecan cupcake just made it that much better. Like, it was so delicious. It was a fantastic experience. But guess what, guys? The guy who brought me my cupcakes, his name was actually one of the characters from the script about the murders. So that's just, see guys, that's what I'm saying. Like, that was like another sign, though. And actually these cupcakes were also a part of another sign as well that I will talk about shortly. So I was able to pass out pretty easily. In fact, I think I went to bed early because I was just so tired. I put on a movie and I got like 10 minutes into it, and I just wasn't in the mood to do anything except go to sleep. And I was told too that, you know, drinking tequila would make me have some kind of a very intense dream experience. And I had let's just say like a terrible nightmare that really felt real. And it was about like a school shooting type of thing. And it was terrifying, and for a variety of reasons. And it was like, I can't remember like the whole thing, but it involved like hiding out from this shooter like right out in the open. So like for some reason we didn't hide in like a bunker or like a room or something. We were all hiding like out in the open outside. And and the shooter was like loose, and like where was he? It was really scary. So drinking all that came back to bite me. So, but also too, another thing is that it did not make me feel sicker. And I was really surprised by that, because this is another reason of why I think that it's allergies or anxiety, because if you have like a virus, or if you have like laryngitis or something like that, drinking will make it worse. Drinking will make you sicker. And so the fact that it didn't, in fact, it made me feel better after I had those cups. That's another thing with me that's always been mostly true, is that I'll drink alcohol and I'll actually feel better. Like, I'll feel more energized. I'll feel more alert for a while if I don't drink too much. But, like, I'll feel better in a way. So, it's pretty interesting. But, yeah. So, the next morning, we planned on going to this deli shop called Spiro's. Then going to the Breakfast Club High School. Because another cool thing about this area, this is one of the reasons why I love this area of Illinois, is because this is where all of the John Hughes movies were shot. So it's a great city and a great place. I've heard that it's expensive to live there, which is really unfortunate, because if it wasn't, that's where I probably would want to live. And, but the Breakfast Club High School, for my entire life of going to this city, I never realized that high school was like 10 minutes away from the general area. It was that close the whole time. And so we went to this. So first off, we went to Spiro's, and it was kind of good that we went there, because they're actually moving, and they for the longest time, ever since they opened, they've been at this little tiny location. It's a small place. There's only like a couple of tables, and it really has the feeling of like a vintage mom and pop deli shop, and it's run like one. It's so much fun to be there and to go there. But what was really interesting this time was that I walked inside, and what do you know? There were these two people sitting at one of the tables, and one of them was a young woman. And I don't know what it is with me seeing all these women who look like someone that I know in public. And to be fair, the guy also looked like someone that I've seen before. But this woman, she was a really, really interesting looking person. She looked like a doll. She looked like an antique doll. She was wearing all white. She had a sweater on, a sweatshirt that was like, it was like homemade almost. You could tell it was just really well made, and it had America on it with a big American flag. And this was a pure white woman. Looked like a vanilla cupcake with vanilla frosting, with red hair. And I thought, wow, I've never seen that before at Spiro's. Because you go to everyone else in Spiro's is like a schlub. It's like a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, some guy who with like warts on his beard or something, warts that are growing out of his you-know-what. Like just a bunch of people who look like they're at a bar or something. People who look like they're at a hockey game or something. There's not like... But then, I think she was there with her dad, because the guy was like this old guy. He looked like the guy with the glasses from Better Call Saul, season 2. I can't remember. I think it's like Tim Bagley or something. I can't remember the actor's name, but it was really interesting because she stood up and she turned around. Because I was so tempted to talk to her as well, to talk to them. I was like kicking myself again for not like going up to these people, these random people. And this is the thing though that makes these experiences so magical, is you think about the universe, and you think about these specific people live their own lives. Those aren't the people, like that wasn't Sharon. That wasn't Sabrina. This girl was not Molly Ringwald, but she looked 100% like her. Her hair was up in a bun. It was not like the same style, but I swear to God, this girl looked exactly like Molly Ringwald in her prime. But hotter. If you had changed her hair, she would have been a dead ringer for Molly Ringwald. And to think, these people live their own specific lives, and for that person who looks exactly like her to be put in the exact location that I was at, someone who is going to go visit that filming location after going to this deli on this one specific day when I'm not there the entire year. I'm never in Illinois otherwise. For those two people to be in the same place is a miracle in and of itself. Because there's so much impossibility and improbability of that happening. That the odds are like 1 in a trillion that I would be there when she was there at that specific time. So I was really upset that I didn't go up to her, actually. Like, I was like, God damn. I really hope that I get to see her again in the future, honestly, like, because that would be really cool. Especially because I could say, I made this video, and I talked about how there was this biatch who looked like Molly Ringwald sitting at Spiro's, eating food in Spiro's. I mean, that is not something that you thought you would say. That was not on my 2024 bingo card, seeing Molly Ringwald at Spiro's. And keep in mind, too, this girl, she's not a bitch like Molly Ringwald. She didn't, Molly Ringwald, what she did to John Hughes was really horrible. If you look up what she did to him, she is the worst. So, but anyways... So after that inspiring, beautiful meeting, we went to the Breakfast Club High School. This was like the perfect experience, guys. Like this is like an experience in a movie. But then we get there, and it was like unbelievable. It was just like, this cannot be real. This is not happening. I am not seeing this iconic 80s movie location in real life. This cannot be real. Because, like, it was there the whole time. We could have visited there over and over and over again for years and years and years. We could have made it a habit. We could have made it a tradition. But then we got there, and this place has been turned into, like, a government, like, police station building and something else. And so every single entrance and exit almost is like, do not enter. You are not allowed to enter. And they had this bus station waiting area, and they have a big sign that says, do not loiter. And it's just like, God, like, why is this so uninviting? Like, you'd think that, like, excuse me, you'd think that, like, as a community, that they would want to be proud of this place, and that they would want people to come to take pictures and to take videos, because that's such a beautiful thing for a community to have, is like an iconic movie setting location. Like the Breakfast Club High School. And also it was used for Ferris Bueller, one of the locations, or one of the parts of the exteriors. But there was one area where it said visitors parking, and we drove back and forth 3 times, and for some reason the person driving did not enter the visitors parking area. I don't know why. It's a mystery to me, but so I'll have to go back next time, because we did not end up parking there and walking around to take pictures, which, I mean, honestly, like, I don't think that you could get arrested for doing that, like, because people have already done it. Like, there's tons of YouTube videos of people going there and taking pictures and shit, and they didn't have a problem, so it was just really irritating that we didn't do that. It was kind of like a big, it was like a big clock tease, like, that's what I'll call it, like a clock tease visit to that filming location. And then the field, this was another, like, bungle. We went to, like, so the field, the football field, this is another funny thing. You guys know I was infamously not able to go onto my own high school's football field to film one shot for my movie, because they had every single entrance padlocked shut. This has become like a big problem with our society, is gatekeeping. Like social gatekeeping and literal physical gatekeeping from, like, locations and things like this. Like, there's just so much focus nowadays on, like, restricting people from access, restricting people from being able to say things, restricting people from being able to talk to certain people. That's become, like, a big focus on our society, is, like, restricting people from doing things. And they wonder why society is so terrible. But the field is really interesting, because there's all these apartments around the field. It's not a football field anymore, but we drove to into one of the apartment areas, and for some reason they did not just park and let me get out and go explore the field. And the field does not, there was nothing prohibiting me from going up on the field, so, but that was unfortunate. So again, we will have to come back to this place. If we had more time too, it probably would have been better, because then we could have really went around and found the best place to enter and exit. And, I just don't understand, though, why the police are so stupid and dumb. See, the police are the worst. They are just the worst part of our society. Like, I would say the police are, like, worse than the government, honestly. Because, like, for them to block people from going into this parking lot just so that they can say, hey, look, I went to this iconic location. Like, there's no excuse for that. So the last thing that I will mention is that on our way home, I stopped at a gas station and I got what's called a suicide drink. I went to the Slurpee machine and they had 6 flavors. They had like peach, blueberry, Mountain Dew, Oreo Coca-Cola. They had all sorts of flavors, and I mixed them all together to have like the ultimate Slurpee. Because like, you know, that's what you do when you go on a vacation. You have a bunch of shit that you wouldn't have otherwise. And so, yeah, I tried to make the best of this short trip, and I think that I did a pretty good job. And I would say that it was actually a really good experience. And it's just sad that that I didn't take advantage of like these really odd and interesting things that and you just have to want, because remember, I ordered Molly's cupcakes the night before that happened. So that was just really strange, you know, that string of coincidences and just really, really odd. So I thought I would share these things. I was so into the experience. I love having experiences like that where just these weird things happen and it's like the universe is clearly showing you signs, showing you things, maybe trying to introduce you to people who like would be good to have in your life. You know, because, like, I don't know, like, why else, like, just think about how weird that would be, like, for someone to come across 3 people over the course of less than 24 hours, and all 3 people look exactly like people that you've seen before. Isn't that weird? I mean, why is that? So anyways, please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews. And for some reason, too, I gotta say, while I was filming this podcast, my throat started to feel better. That's pretty weird. Like, it was feeling terrible throughout this whole review, or this video. And then all of a sudden it started feeling better. So again, very weird. And I would also say, in conclusion to the hotel, I would recommend Marriott on the Courtyard if you are a single person or you are just with one other person who you really like. Because if you're in that small of a room together, then you better like each other, or else you're going to have a really miserable experience. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.